So, are you sick of AI yet? Well, too bad, because it's just getting started. So, really, I owe this to my friends at CB Insights. This is from one of their decks, but it was too good not to share, with the view that we're really at the cusp of the fifth industrial revolution. And I think that that is an accurate statement. As we look at the progression of technology, we went from machines, and now we're getting into the fundamental aspects of what drives a machine, which is the process, and we're able to scale that and operationalize it via artificial intelligence. So the things that make machines work. So from that idea of, if we're looking at an industrial revolution component, this is a somewhat all-encompassing scenario. This isn't something that's just related to one aspect of our lives. It's something that has a fundamental impact across virtually every aspect of our lives and the tools that we use as humans to affect change in our environment. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. I think Ray, I'm still having a little bit of an issue with not seeing the arrows. So if we have any glitches, apologies. I'm sure that it's my fault. This is also from my friends at CB Insights. They kind of broke out a good little taxonomy of what we're seeing with AI and robotics today, and it kind of falls into three big groups. Physical tasks, moving goods, delivery robots, food prep. We've all seen things like that. Maybe one of the best examples is Amazon. If you've seen the videos of in the Amazon stock rooms, where they have robots who go and pick it up and carry it, and then humans interact from there. Emotion analysis, that's a lot of what we've talked about so far today. Things like Siri, basic support with conversational AI, sentiment analysis, which is what Andrew was talking about, in essence, behavioral analytics, a lot of the data that goes into analyzing what we do within stores, and some of the video analysis. I would categorize what Perry talked about in terms of kind of image recognition is kind of somewhere in between, because image recognition inherently has some applications when we're looking at not just how we're static image, but also video. So that's certainly a big growing arena. And then there's cognitive tasks, number crunching, forecasting, predictions. Again, Andrew touched on some of this, but also we look at the application of AI in summarizing documents and in even creating documents. So there's a lot of news reports that we think are coming from humans that actually are not. It is an AI system that is collating the information and putting it out there. So when you read it and think, man, that's a really crappy writer, it's really not the writer, it's the machine. Targeted advertising. Everything that we see on our Facebook feeds, when we go to Amazon, et cetera, the retargeting ads that follow us along, I'm sure like many of you, I am haunted by research company ads everywhere I go, because I go to so many research company websites. That is all an application of artificial intelligence. So it drives marketing. So a huge amount of money being spent from that standpoint as well. So the hype is that the robots are coming, they're going to take all of our jobs. AI could do your job faster, more accurately than you can. Well, we're not really quite there yet. The reality is that human jobs aren't going to go away. Andrew said that. I agree with that absolutely. But they will change. So the purpose of AI and its applications in physical manifestations of robotics is to make things easier. So things that we do today that may be considered drudge, that are tasks that can be automated, will be automated. And the more that we have data to train these systems to do these things more, then the more that's going to happen. So even in the course of the last 20 years in the research industry, I can think of 100 different applications of the burgeoning beginnings of AI that have made life much easier. And that's only going to continue. And again, Andrew and Perry specifically had some really good examples of things where it's just made the process simpler that would normally take us hours and hours or even days and days to do, now can be done literally at the touch of a button. And that is where we are, and that's where we're going to continue to see the trajectory of the application. So in the short term, AI is just math. So it does it faster, it saves us money by automating the complex process. And there's a lot of applications of AI that are happening today, and let's use a couple examples of that outside of the research space. So the Nest thermostat, The smart home applications, that's application of AI. It remembers things that have been done in the past, and it learns from what you like, and then it applies that. And that absolutely that saves you time and energy and even money in terms of how it monitors the environmental systems in our homes. Netflix, another great example. It's predictive analytics, what you might want to see, and we see the same thing on Amazon, iTunes, Pandora. They're all using predictive analytics based on analyzing our behavior, our likes, our dislikes, our choices of what we choose to consume or to purchase, to make recommendations that fit that overall profile. It's effectively kind of building a taxonomy on the fly of personal choices. Salesforce has an Einstein application that is based on natural language processing that analyzes emails to estimate likelihood the user will buy or detect deals that a team is at risk of losing. So that's the application of sentiment analysis, and it just makes the recommendation. Hey, you need to intervene with this account at this point because this person sounds irritated or dissatisfied. So in the longer term, AI is going to transform industries, and market research is particularly fertile ground. So if we look at the automation of driving, that is certainly, self-driving cars are a big deal. Although we're not seeing them ubiquitously on the streets today, we will. Even in the last few weeks here in the U.S., there was legislation that was fast-tracked to bring self-driving cars to the streets as quickly as they can. So over the course of the next 5 years, think of the applications of how self-driving cars will impact not just us as individuals as we drive, but specifically around delivery. So, I'm a geek as well, and you may, if anybody saw the movie Logan last year, the final Wolverine movie, and there was a great scene where they're on the highway and there's self-driving trucks that are delivering delivering materials. That is absolutely an application that we will see over the next few years. As we see in Pittsburgh, Uber has been experimenting with putting self-driving cars. Lyft, Uber's big competitor, who will probably outlive them, they have joined in with a lot of the major manufacturers, particularly General Motors, in bringing self-driving cars. The luxury brands out of Europe, Mercedes, BMW, all are absolutely pushing this. So that is going to be a fundamental way that we're going to see transformation at a massive scale in a major industry as well as in our daily lives through the application of AI in autonomous vehicles. How we do our shopping. The IBM Watson has been working with multiple retailers and trying to develop the technology so that it stocks the precise number of goods needed on shelves, knows which products you want. This is kind of the scenario from the movie with Tom Cruise, when he's walking through the mall and it's making recommendations based upon his shopping behavior and his needs, et cetera, et cetera. This is the AI that drives automatically restocking your fridge, knowing that you're low on milk or you're low on cheese, and it places the order with the local grocery store delivery system, and it brings that right to you. These are all things that are happening right now that are pretty fundamentally disruptive. But if we look at just the research space, there are very specific applications. So, and I've kind of tried to break out a few here just as examples. So Zappy Store. Zappy may have started with the idea of being AI. They've actually shifted much more into the idea of IA, of intelligence augmentation. And I think in general, as we talk about a lot of these tools, that's going to be where we wind up. It's not the idea that it's going to take something away from us. It's going to take away drudge. It's going to take away odious tasks that are time consuming, but effectively what they do is they augment our ability to get things done. So Zappy is an example of intelligence augmentation through their process. Now the other side of the coin is Wiser. Wiser is a pure AI platform that Nielsen has backed. And the Wiser approach is give us your business issue and we will build the questionnaire and the entire research process for you automatedly to tell you exactly what you need to do. So it's a very big difference between where Zappy takes human IP and scales it. Wiser is doing it directly through AI, and the human is not involved at all. Dakota, which is cognitive computing. Living Lens, doing image analysis, same as our friends at Glimpsit. Affectiva, emotional AI, and a big shout out to them, by the way. So Rana Al-Kaloubi, the CEO, I mean, they have become a great big deal. Just this past week, Rana was speaking at a huge event put on by Bloomberg in New York City that has, Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and all these guys, and here was Rana from Affectiva talking about the applications of emotional AI across many, many technologies, not just research, but of course Affectiva is also embedded in many research applications. IBM Watson, which is an AI deep learning platform. AYTM is automating a lot of the analytics. I don't know if you ever use that platform. We use it for the GRIT study, and I love it because a lot of the analysis in a very sophisticated way is built in. A lot of the questionnaire design is built in, so they've automated that. Questor does natural language processing to do interviewing, so it's an agent-based system. Lucid, which is automating the delivery of sample at scale, and there's tons and tons and tons of other examples of companies that are taking different permutations of this and applying it within the research space, and that is only going to continue. So, basically, my summary is that don't fear the robots. Overall, AI is about augmenting, not replacing. It does absorb cognitive drudgery, which is a big part of the research process as we're doing analysis and creating charts and math formulas. So it absolutely has huge applications here, but it doesn't take away the human intuition or the ability to tell stories, or more importantly, to get to implications and outcomes. It's going to help guide that and make it easier for us to get there, but it's not going to take it away. So I thought it'd be useful just to run through a quick terms, really. So there's a lot of confusion about things. So let's do that really quickly. So AI is really a marketing terms that is talking about non-living analytical power. It's about fast processing and data storage. So there's a few ways to think about it. There's weak AI, IBM Watson. Those are algorithms built to accomplish very specific tasks. There's strong AI, like Skynet, which we're not there yet, but that's a hypothetical future that will replicate human intelligence. So as we think about some of the things we in the first presentation, that would be strong AI. Big data, that really is a buzzword, and it's just about a machine's ability to generate insights from lots and lots of data sets. Weather company, IBM, as they're looking at analyzing data points to form weather sensors, aircraft, smartphones, buildings. But big data is not AI. Big data is a process that can be embedded within AI that is really just an analytical function. Machine learning, that is something that underpins a lot of this. It's a method of automated analytical model building. So where the computer actually is exposed to a core set of permutations, a task, and then manifests more and more refinement in its calculations based upon the more data that it's exposed to. An algorithm is a formula in its simplest terms, that is a mathematical formula that defines a relationship between things. It's self-contained, it's around step-by-step operations, and it automates a function. So as we talk about AI, inherently at the core of it is some type of algorithm that incorporates these other terms that we've talked about to help make it better. Deep learning is another machine learning capability. That gets into digital sounds, images, other data. Google's Deep Dream photo editing software that uses neural networks, the type of things that Andrew talked about, that uses a deep learning capability where the machine is a little more free in trying to interpret and apply what it's learning. And neural networks, which I'm actually not going to go too much into since Andrew covered that, but that's a computational approach that tries to mimic what the brain does. Natural language processing is an application, again, in text analytics that mimics how we talk and tries to analyze that. Parsing is another process within text to try and separate out our written speech as well as our speech or our spoken speech that's happening as well, to analyze that. That helps drive a lot of what's happening within some of the voice recognition programs are based on audio versions of the text analytics being applied there. And that's it. That's your crash course in how AI is affecting things today, where it's going to go in the future, its applications in research, and a good glossary of information that hopefully you'll download and have that, so you'll sound really smart at your next board meeting. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Lenny. Wonderful, exciting, and a little bit scary. And we can see that we've got an out-of-date picture now that we have the tonsorial modifications.
That's my wife. That picture will come back into play. She's not a big fan of the cleaned look. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so we've got several questions, but just before we get to the questions, I'm going to throw one in. Why do you think people underestimate AI so much? So we talk about, will this come? Is it going to happen? And you pointed at some things, but actually self-driving cars are awesome. They're doing millions of miles already. Alexa, Siri, and those things from where we were are awesome. And you and I were talking offline on another topic, but there's 750 million photos uploaded in China, and there's recognition software, which means if you're in Shanghai and you jaywalk, it knows and finds you automatically. All AI and facial recognition. And unlike US facial recognition, it can do with lots of ethnicities. This technology is mind-blowing, and people don't really seem to accept that it's already here.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of fear and arrogance, right? Fundamentally, we there's an author that I like who calls us moist robots, and he's right. And we are moist robots, and we have learned or are learning how to replicate the functions that our circuitry accomplishes to a great extent, and applying that. And I think folks, it's a little offsetting, it's a little scary, it's kind of the other, right? That's why we have all of these fantasies about Skynet taking over and the Terminator, and we have legitimately brilliant people like Elon Musk saying, hey, that's a real concern. We better be careful. If we create something like ourselves, it may decide that we're not really needed. That is a viable that's a viable consideration. Science fiction is increasingly becoming science fact. Hopefully not from that standpoint, but that idea of that maybe we're not as unique as we like to think we are. That we can be coded, that we can be built into or programmed ourselves, or to program other things that look and act like ourselves, kind of takes away some of the uniqueness of the human condition. So I think that's the concern. It's a deep-seated component of just being, well, I'm special, and maybe we're not so special.
So let's get to the questions that have been coming in. First one: would AI tools in the future kill market research? And this is a different take on kill market research. If we can get insights and predictions in real time, would budgets of MR reduce gradually, and the need of MR be replaced by just AI skill sets?
It depends on your definition of research. And Ray, you and I have talked about this for years, so I'd be a broken record. Data collection, if you define research as collecting data and delivering information, yes. We lost that a long time ago, and we will continue to lose that. Those are automated functions. They've always been functions that we can automate. Now we just have the tools to do that. So if we're talking about research from the process of simply consuming information and analyzing it, that ship has sailed. We lost that battle. If we think about research from an insights perspective, our ability to ask the right questions, to understand the business issue, and to deliver information in a meaningful way that helps drive business outcomes, that is a human thing. So today, will AI get there eventually? Very possibly, but not in the immediate foreseeable future. So I don't. If we're looking at it from the standpoint of research morphing to look a whole lot more like a consulting company, I don't think that Deloitte or Bain or any of those companies are going away anytime soon. Research needs to follow that path. We need to find the value that looks a whole lot more around the consultation versus the process.
I'd chip in something else there as well. Probably only about 10% of the richest companies in the world do market research. And as market research gets cheaper, we're opening that up to a much, much wider range of companies.
Absolutely. That has been, CEOs know, I'm on the board of Zappi, so I have an inside view. And part of that, their model has always been to think about broadening the playing field. So to make, you take an example of how they took a Millward Brown tracker study, right, that was 30 grand a pop, and have made it available for 5,000 a pop. So that makes Millward Brown IP now available to a huge segment of companies that could have never afforded that before.
Absolutely.
So that is absolutely part of the play.
So great question coming up here. What do you see will happen to the MR industry when AI joins hand with chatbot? Can there be interviewing robots that can replace qualitative researchers?
No, it's happening. It's happening today. I mean, one of our sponsors, Question Pro, they are working on creating AI chatbots. Questor, whom I mentioned, same thing. So, it depends on if you're just asking a series of rote questions, that is absolutely an application. But if you need to think about things and ask a follow-on question, we're not there yet. So one of the examples would be, let's say, Remesh, who I should have mentioned. Remesh has created a platform that you can be doing what appears to be a one-on-one interview with 1,000 people at a time, right? And the AI is not asking the question. A moderator is asking the question. The AI is simply taking all of the data and the responses and giving the moderator the tool to ask the right follow-up question. So, and the platform will never be at a point where it could think as quickly on its feet as a human today to ask something based upon the information that takes it in a different direction. So I think that the skills of a human moderator, of being able to ask questions on the fly, to think quickly, it's going to be a long time before a system will replicate that. But the system will absolutely make it easier for us to react more quickly to lots of different data sources to ask those questions.
And we've got a couple more questions I'm going to take, and then we'll probably run out of time. But great question here from Jennifer. So one of the great things about driverless cars is that they're much safer. How will or could AI make market research safer?
Well, norms come to mind. So obviously, past performance is not necessarily an indicator of future success. But for AI to be able to look at trends and to quickly calculate, this is how things tend to work, right? Historically, people have responded well to this type of packaging element or to this messaging. Then AI certainly can play a role there. Actually, I just saw something even this past week that Maslansky and Partners, which is a kind of PR firm, a political PR firm, has created an AI tool that helps detail the messaging that you should use in your PR statements based upon the issue. If you're in crisis management, it tells you you're dealing with this type of problem. Here's the language that you need to use in your message, because statistically we've proven that the inclusion of this language helps to diffuse it.
I mean, absolutely. And I would add to that so many research briefs at the moment are written by junior brand managers with little training and then executed by junior researchers with limited training, that there's a lot of scope to make that process safer.
There is, absolutely.
Great question coming up from Luca here. Are most AI applications large? Do they require lots of investment? Or are some of them also applicable to lower budget projects?
Lower budget. That's the thing about AI. So you build it once and you sell it 1 million times. So if you're trying to build a customized AI application, obviously that takes a lot of money. But at this point, we're reaching the point where folks have invested to build those AI applications to address business issues, and now they're just licensing it. So it can be very cost effective. I certainly think that there will be a point in the very near future that we will see literally thousands of AI applications that are useful to the market research industry that will literally cost, pennies on the dollar. Even already, one of the quotes from Stanston Nathan from Unilever when Zappy first entered the fray was, so I can save 80% of my budget. Why the hell would I not do that, right? So, and I think those are the types of savings we look at. Perry hinted at that as well. Obviously, Glimpset is far more cost effective than traditional survey methods. So we're going to see those cost savings across the board because of scale, because it's technology, and you're selling air effectively. So it's all licensing model, and it becomes much easier to reduce costs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lenny. That has been a fantastic end to the process here today.